Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm super excited, as I always am, but I know so many wonderful people. But Yukti is one of my favorite people in the world. She and I took some classes together. We actually got certified as parent coaches together. So I've known her for a while. And she is going to talk to us about how to bring more fun into your life. And the flip side of that is how to not feel guilty for having more fun in your life. So if you're a mom who's trying to loosen up a little bit and relax and just enjoy your days, Yukti is the coach for you. So, welcome, beautiful. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Beth. It's wonderful to be here with you. I love talking to you anytime. So this is like the perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Thank you. So, Yukti, I know some of your story and some of your background, but I think it's so fascinating because when I talk to you about business related stuff, you are so like on top of your game. And I know you were this really smart businesswoman, marketing professional for a long time. So tell me how you ended up here helping moms.
Well, I know you know a little bit of my story, but the audience doesn't. I am actually, I'm an engineer originally by a training, and I worked in the software industry for many, many years, over 20 years actually. I went from engineering to eventually being in marketing for many years. And then I kind of hit the wall. And I have a feeling many of your moms in the audience might recognize that. Some of them might have done so already, some of them might be in that boat. I basically got burnt out because I was trying to do it all and I was trying to do it all 100% and just get it right and be perfect at it and be the most productive possible. And in the process, I lost myself completely.
Mm,
And that's how my journey into what I call my second phase of life began. Really, that's how it. That was the first step.
mm,
And then I took a break. I took a break to create some space in my life to rest because I hadn't. I was 40 and I felt like I'd been running on the treadmill since I was little. I never had a time to actually just rest and hang out and relax. It's been a long time since I did that. And when I took the break, I began to notice how my relationship with my kids was. Like I thought I'd take a break and it would improve, but I noticed how I would still get mad. I would still be so angry about stuff. And so it was time to do some, and I knew it wasn't my kids. I mean, I love my kids and they have a way to tweak me even now. Like all kids, they know how to get your goat and they know how to push your buttons and they know how to get what they want. They are very smart about it. But I knew it wasn't my kids. It was me. I was done kind of like blaming everybody else in the world for what wasn't working. So that's how I ended up joining you, meeting you in the certified parent coaching course we did together. And from there on, it's been a journey of working with different teachers, uh, really looking into what it was about for me. Because for me, it first started with being about the parent and child relationship. Uh, and I saw that as I saw that transform, I realized that my relationship with myself is what I needed to really start transforming for all the relationships around me to actually shift and change. And as I did that, I realized how difficult it is for other moms to create the space in their lives as well. And so that's kind of what led me down to doing what I do now, which is working primarily with moms in creating some ease in their life and actually allowing them space to be themselves.
so needed right now. T- Tell me what that was like. I think you said it was kind of like being on a treadmill for 40 years, but what did you feel that makes makes it, how would you help somebody identify if they're in a space where they feel like they've lost themselves? What does that feel like? What's the,
There were lots of signs over the years, and I feel like most moms see those signs. For some, they're able to make a U-turn at some point in their life. For others, they have to actually hit the wall like I did to make the U-turn. It's different for everybody. But I think some of the signs like I first saw was my very first sign was when my son was born. I have two kids, and my first kid was relatively smooth for me, like the first 2 years, because I could manage both the work and the kid and the home. It was still manageable. When I had my second kid, I had this desire to not work. But at the same time, I didn't feel like I had a choice not to. So that was my first sign. And this is going back, right? Now that I'm going back with you, I'm back and I've had a time to reflect. I can see that. I often see that moms don't realize it. We feel like we don't have choices in our life. And at every junction, we feel we are constricted or we don't have a choice. That is an opportunity to actually look at why we are feeling that way. So that was my first point in my life where I can reflect back and say that, yes, that was, I felt like I had no choice. And then I took a job that involved traveling 3 days a week with two young kids at home. So that added to to the challenge. But again, I didn't think I had a choice because I was what you would qualify within quotes because I'm not trying to label anybody or even myself, but as a career woman. So that's what, because of how I had been brought up or what I believed about myself at that point, I thought I had no choice and there were no other options available to me. And not to say that financially or emotionally, there are times when women don't have a choice. There's so many single moms out there who can't just quit their job and do what I had the opportunity to do. But it's not about your physical circumstances, just that I'm talking about. It's more about emotionally feeling that way, feeling like you're stuck, feeling like you don't have any other choice. Then again, I saw that, and that kept repeating at different phases in my career for the next 7 years before I quit. It was 7 years before I quit. So I left my traveling job, found another job within the same company. Things were okay for a little bit, but then again, I started feeling stuck, like something didn't fit. So that was another way to look at it. Something didn't fit. I was trying to juggle everything at home and I was working from home. So now came home after school. So trying to juggle being that perfect mom who fed them the most nutritious food, was around with them, and at the same time trying to be that perfect employee at work and still keep up with the work and the expectations others had of me and I had of myself. So that again, feeling stuck, feeling like something's off, something's not fitting in, and that built up over time.
Yeah, so feeling constricted, feeling like there's not another choice, and then trying to be perfect at everything, it sounds like. But did you find that your job was rewarding to you, that you needed to do?
So after a point, it stopped being rewarding.
Okay.
That's the other thing, right? After a point, it wasn't something that fulfilled me. It was just something like I said, like doing because what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
So doing that and then having to be, like you said, wanting to be perfect at that and being perfect at home and being a perfect wife. There's so many categories that we kind of try to fit ourselves in and so many ways. And that is, I think that's eventually that pressure built up. And like you see, when the pressure builds up, eventually a diamond comes out of it. But before the diamond is formed, you have to live through that pressure cycle.
Great analogy there. Yeah. So it seems like you really needed to give yourself permission. I know you have such a big, nurturing heart. You're like the mom of the world. You're just such a mom, and it almost feels like you needed to give yourself permission to really step into your natural role and just be mom, but not be the perfect Pinterest mom.
Yeah.
Be the love, be the loving mom that you just naturally are.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that that part of me really existed at the time. I had denied it for so long,
Mm,
and just I feel like moms everywhere to some extent feel that way. There's some who are very nurturing, and even those who are very nurturing have their own thing, and we'll talk about it later in the interview, hopefully. But for me personally, yes, being that perfect mom, trying to fit into an image I had of myself. I won't even say anybody else expected it of me, but what I expected of myself, and trying to fit into that very, very tight container was really challenging. So stepping out of it was also challenging
mm,
because I had to, like you said, give myself permission to say that I am allowed to do different things. I'm allowed to be different. I am allowed to be not just the practical, logical one, but the one who's heart centered. I can I can parent my children not to fit into like they have to be like this to be a success, like A, B, C, D. There's a formula I have to follow to actually being like, no, I get to just be the mom and be with them. And that took me some time. And you know, when my daughter was born, I was like that with her. But somewhere along the line, I lost that part of me. And in my own relationships with my kids, like you said, I was always the nurturer of the world. Like I had always had friends who would come to me for advice, and I'd be this space to hold them. And but I had big, but I had lost touch with that part of me, uh, and I had definitely not given myself the permission to allow that part of me to be that person for myself.
mm, mhm. Yeah. Well, I think that's so easy. And that ties into my next question because we have so much to do as moms. When you think about all of our own needs, and then maybe some of our husband's needs, and the house needs, and the pets, and the yard, and everything we have to do, there's just so much to do. And it's so masculine. And you literally have so much to think about and take care of all the time. So, what did you change to continue to do the things that you had to do, but to have some space again for fun and for just being that present, nurturing mom with your kids?
I would say the first thing I did, and you already touched on that, was give myself permission to do it. First thing, because I think one of the things we struggle with as a mindset is if we do that, if we allow ourselves space for ourselves, that's selfish, and selfish equal to negative, negative equal to that's not what I do,
Mm,
and equal to no permission to do that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I did was started prioritizing it as part of my life. That I get to live my life. I don't get to just do my life.
mm,
Because when we are always just doing things, you don't get to live it. So, for example, I used to cook a lot when I was in that state because I was a stickler for healthy food and making sure we had organic and all that stuff. Mind you, that's still very important to me, and I still do it. But it's just how I do it that has shifted. I give myself permission to have days off. I give myself permission to not get it perfectly. I give myself permission to not to make mistakes at times. I give my kids permission to try different things, and and yet I still cook nearly as much as I used to. But Now it's something I do because I enjoy it, not just to nurture and feed my family, because now I'm coming from a place of nurturing. Like I want this for myself and my kids.
Mm,
It's something that nurtures my soul, and it's also an outlet for my creativity.
yeah.
So that's an example of how that shifted for me. It's not necessarily what you do that shifts. It's how you do it, how you show up, how you give yourself permission to show up.
I know.
That's what shifts.
Yeah, I thought about you actually right before we're recording this right around my dinner time for my family. And I decided to make this recipe tonight with these giant chicken breasts. And my kids both wanted to help. And so I had to make a decision that it was more important for me to be present with them and let them experience cooking and run a little bit behind with this meal and not have it be perfect. I'm sure they're down there eating it. I'm sure it's
Yeah,
not perfect. I had to prioritize that that was the experience I want to have, where probably 5 years ago, I would have been like, I got to go, go, go. I'm going to be 15 minutes early and get this done. And it's got to be perfect and look gorgeous and taste great. And then I would have beat myself up if it wasn't or if anything was wrong. And I even had to give myself permission to ask you for 10
yeah,
extra minutes tonight because I just knew it wasn't going to be done. Where before I never would have done that because I always wanted, again, have the image of I'm perfect, I'm on time, I've got everything
yeah.
together. It's so hard to allow that to be different and just be real with ourselves
I,
and each other.
I can completely identify with what you're saying, Beth, because that I was exactly like that. Exactly like that. Like things had to be done like a certain time, and if they weren't done a certain time, then even if I gave myself like, okay, fine, it's going to be half an hour late. It was always with this mindset that I made a mistake. So
Mm,
recognizing that, I think the challenge is that as moms, we often don't recognize that we give grace to our kids sometimes, but we don't give ourselves that grace.
you're
We
absolutely
really
right.
don't. We
No,
really,
we're so hard on ourselves. And it
yes,
takes all the joy out of life because then you do start to feel like you're on the hamster wheel or whatever. And it's
exactly. I mean,
another
2 days
day.
of doing that now, and I know, oh, this is not working. It took me 40 years to figure it out, but
Well, better late than never.
yeah,
No, that's awesome. Now, Yukti, I know that you have another way to create time in your life, and that's by asking for help, like I asked
yeah.
you for 10 minutes tonight. How do you get to even give yourself the permission to do that? And how do you get your family to buy into giving you the time you need?
So this was actually a very hard practice for me to start with. Um, if you had asked me, I would have said I'm very good at making boundaries at work because at work, I was like, okay, I can't work more than 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. I'm not available beyond these times because I have kids. So if you look from outside, I was a person who was very clear about her boundaries and very hard about them. And that's really what it comes down to is the way we are taught to do things and work. And I'm stepping back a little bit from your question just to explain it because you asked me how, is because we live in a very patriarchal society. We have been conditioned to do things a certain way in a certain time. And with, so when we can't, we create boundaries also, which are very hard and done in a very hard way. And all of us have masculine and feminine energy, right? You know that, I know that. Maybe some of our audience doesn't, some of our audience doesn't. But masculine and feminine doesn't mean man and woman. It's just both different aspects of our energy that we all hold as men and as women. So I was so strongly in my masculine energy that I knew how to hold boundaries at work. But when it came at home, I couldn't I couldn't stick with them. Either I would get very hard or I would just completely let it go. So as a result, what would end up happening is I would have boundaries at work, but at home I'd be doing everything by myself.
Yeah.
So I struggled with that in the beginning because there's A big aspect of why we do that as women and moms is the guilt.
Mm.
I would feel guilty because I wasn't spending enough time with my kids and my family, or whatever reasons. Uh, so I would try and do everything by myself.
Isn't that such a trick though? Because you feel guilty because you're not spending time with them doing it, but then
Yeah.
you don't actually hold the boundary because immediately you also feel guilty for holding the boundary.
Yes, it is. And initially, it is challenging. I won't lie to you. When you first ask for help, there's a part of you that wants to like, how am I going? This is supposed to be something I do. How can I
Mm.
ask somebody else to do it? How can I ask for help? It's I won't lie, and that's why I coach moms through it, because you need a helping hand to give yourself permission, firstly, to ask. Okay, first step is recognizing in yourself that you need this, that you need that help. So giving yourself permission to feel that need, that I actually need help. I can't do it all by myself. And my heart really, like, I feel sad when I think about it, because I see it all around me all the time, all the time. And I don't actually don't just meet mothers, I also see fathers do that. So first step is to actually just give yourself permission to actually see that, I need time to myself and I need help. I can't, I can't actually do it by myself. I would like some help. So first step is allowing yourself to feel that need and not trying to do it all. The second step is then to actually tell yourself it's okay to do it. You have to get yourself in the place where you say, it's okay for me to ask for help. So first you get permission to feel your need, then be okay with feeling that need and asking for help, and then advocating for yourself, which is what I call feminine advocacy.
Feminine advocacy.
Feminine advocacy, because advocating for yourself, when you are advocating not by saying, I I need your help. You better get this done. Or telling your kids, why are the toys all over the floor? I need you to get this done because you need the house clean. It's about bringing out the nurturing side of yourself for you and for the other person, and actually expressing your need to that person. And that involves you being willing to be vulnerable with the person in front of you. And that is a very feminine quality. Being able to be vulnerable, being able to express that need and saying, I can't do it all by myself. I need your help. Last night, I'll give a very commonplace example that might be happening in your life. My daughter and I had gone out with a friend and her daughter to go shopping, in just the girls' shopping day. And by the time we came home, it was like 6:30. I was exhausted, and there was this guilt that yes, I'd been out all afternoon having fun with my daughter. My son and my husband were at home. My husband had been working and taking some time to relax at home. So the old me would have come home and I would have started just preparing something for dinner and banging dishes because I was mad that I had to do it.
Yeah.
And just feeling frustrated, but feeling like I had no choice. Again, feeling like I had no choice. I had to do it because I'm the mom. I've already been out. I'm feeling guilty about being out. So I have to figure out something for dinner. So instead, I just told my husband, I'm really tired. Can we figure out what to get from outside? Or we can maybe make something at home, but make it quick and easy, like simple something. And so we came up with the idea of we had some frozen pizza crusts and a quick salad. But I told him I'm really tired, so can you help me? Instead of like making like I can't, instead of just doing it and being upset with him anyway, I just told him to help me. And together we got it done. And then the kids made their own pizzas. My kids are old enough, 12 and 14 now. So they can do that. They weren't happy about it. My son hadn't seen me, so he wanted his attention. So I said, look, I'm really tired today. I can't do it right now. And it's a simple dinner that you can make for yourself. So please do that.
Yeah.
That's an example of
Well, I
something.
think it's important that you started with how you were feeling because
Yeah.
I think almost before we even ask for the help, we need to kind of share into our world. And it can be hard. I know it's hard for me to even,
Yeah.
because I know what, so as empaths, I
Mhm.
think you're the same as me. We kind of know what other people are feeling,
Yeah.
they're doing, but yet we think everybody else also knows how we're feeling.
Okay.
Like as soon as you walked in the door, the sense is that he'll just know I'm tired because I've been gone all day and whatever. But you actually have to let them in to the inside, right? And say,
There's two aspects to it actually that
okay,
what you just pointed out. Like I walked into the house and I could feel my husband was irritated because we've been gone for so long. Because I'm an
mhm,
empath and I can sense how he's feeling.
yeah,
Uh, and but I also knew that I couldn't do more at that point. So instead of like giving in to his irritation, and if I've gotten irritated because he's irritated, which is very natural with empaths, like we pick up the feeling so much that sometimes it's hard to differentiate as to how they are feeling versus how we are feeling. But I'm getting better at it.
and we match them anyway.
Yeah,
We tend to
exactly.
match who we're with, so
Yeah,
so
we
you
tend
would
to pick
just
up
by
whatever
default.
exactly.
Uh,
So, but I could feel it. So I just that's exactly the thing. I think moms don't think they are allowed to say that they're tired sometimes also. So it's again going back to giving yourself permission to feel what you're feeling and what your need is. And that's a big part of it. It took me a long time to get to a point where I could identify my feelings and my needs because I had shut it down so much. And I see that with the moms I work with often, that they don't understand how they're feeling. They don't know what they're feeling because they have denied themselves the the option to feel their own feelings for so long. They're so busy servicing and taking care of everybody else's feelings around them that that's the very first step we have to work on, actually recognizing their own feelings and needs.
yeah. That's I've noticed that with every client I've ever had, which I know
Yeah,
is there to remind me of how hard it used to be for me because I think due to different reasons, we learn at some point to repress what we're feeling in
yeah,
order to get through whatever situation we're in, especially as children who were told that it wasn't okay to be
yeah,
anything other than happy and agreeable. So that's what we tried to become.
yeah. I mean, we all have these things happen in our lives, and we all carry them with ourselves, and that's part of the work you and I do with our clients. Like I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Everybody needs you.
It's
You're a
ringing in
mom.
the background loudly declaring what the number is, but we'll ignore that for a moment. Um, so going back to what I was saying, it happens to all of us, like all of us. We all have something that happened in our childhood, usually mostly between the ages of 7 to 14, um, that you actually carry with yourself and have this thing. Like you said, for you, it's like being agreeable. And for me, it was because my mom was always mad at me. Being angry was the only way to get my way.
Mm,
Like I had to get mad. Like my husband was irritated yesterday. I could have picked up on his energy, and because he's irritated, now I'm irritated. And that irritation can lead to frustration, to getting upset, and then getting like, can't you see? I'm tired and you can't even help. Versus, I'm really tired, I need help.
yeah.
And
I
that's the difference between how I would create the boundary earlier versus advocating for myself now.
Exactly. Because if you think about that, if you kept going down that road, then the marriage starts to suffer, which is exactly what mine did. Because I'm like, hello, how do you not know that I need your help? But my mouth was shut. I was never asking for it.
And my husband has told me that many times, like, are you thinking it? Because you didn't say it.
Yeah. Yep. They don't know. And I found that just by pointing out what's going on for me and not even getting to the point of asking for help, then he
Yeah.
goes into problem solving mode and chips in or whatever I need him to do,
Yeah.
you know? So
And sometimes I have a solution, I'll say it, and other times we come up with a solution together because it's not always possible for one person to come up with the whole solution. It's not. And that's part of advocating for yourself is creating a solution together.
yeah, and then everybody's needs are met when we do it that way, aren't they? So I think we kind of touched on this, but just in case we didn't, um, going back to the idea of creating space for yourself and having fun and doing things that are relaxing, why do you think that we avoid doing them? I know we've talked about like the specific time reasons that we don't do them,
Yeah.
but is there a reason why we avoid? I know it comes back to the guilt. What do you tell the mom who thinks it's just selfish to go for a jog right now when there's so
And
much I have to do?
I have a very hard time breaking into that with moms initially. Okay. Because the I think what what is the hardest thing, and I keep going back to, is actually identifying how you're feeling and that you need something. Um, in our society in general, and that's shifting and that's changing, and I'm happy about that. There's a lot of load. The primary role of being the caregiver in the family is on a mom. Okay. There are exceptions, but in general, it is a mom, and the mom is generally the nurturer. So that ends up being the case. So even if the husband is the one who's doing most of the cooking and all that stuff, the organizing and the taking care of the kids and all that still falls primarily on the mom. Okay, so the mom is the primary caregiver, and in my case, I was also one of the breadwinners of the house at that time. And she might not be the breadwinner of the house, but she's also the one who's outward face very often in terms of the social calendars and PTA. And there's so many roles a mom plays, right? So many roles. In playing those roles, we start getting our value from that role, being who we are, being who we are, being the good mother, being the perfect wife, being the PTA mom or the perfect employee at work, or both in many cases. We derive so much value from that that we forget that we have other needs. That we actually have this same need our child has, the one that goes to school and comes back after that 9 to 3 schedule, to actually just go out and in the yard and play. You and I have that same need inside us. You
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
still have that same need inside us, but we deny it
Hmm.
because we have been told and we have seen our mothers do otherwise, and we've learned that it is selfish. That word selfish is not a bad word, but we've made it a negative word. It's selfish to take care of ourselves, and that's what I first have to work with moms on, seeing that you are being driven by something outside of you to show up this way.
Mm.
And when you don't, you feel guilty about it. And they don't even recognize the guilt many times. So that's another challenge I face with the moms, but slowly, like it's a pattern of
Yeah.
behavior. And that's what we unfold. We unfold the pattern. Um, it's like when you build that origami pattern, right? you cut different pieces with the scissors, and then as you unfold it, it suddenly becomes clear what you were doing. That's really the part of the process. You start recognizing bits and pieces of yourself that you've been denying. And then as you unfold it, you begin to see. And those things become clearer in your life. And it doesn't become clear in just one aspect of your life, it becomes clear in all aspects of your life. And that's what the unfolding looks like. So, yeah, guilt is a very big aspect of it, and recognizing and allowing yourself to see your needs, your own needs, is a big part of it.
Well, that's huge what you just said about value, because often we, anyway, can see the value in our children and understand that they have lots of needs to be met. And I think that's sometimes why we overcompensate, because as children, maybe we were only valued for what we did and what we achieved in our grades in school and however we helped out in the house and stuff. So we decided that we weren't valuable, we
Yeah,
didn't have worth unless we were actually achieving. And then we just carry that into adulthood now and think, oh, if I'm not doing and achieving and being awesome and amazing, then it's not worth it. So therefore, I don't need to go actually take care of myself and, heal, recover, rest, whatever, have fun. It's crazy what we
yeah,
do to ourselves. Just crazy.
yeah. And you wouldn't do that to your child, right? You don't. Well, let me say that you not always true. Sometimes we repeat the same pattern because that's all we know. That's all we know. And I have grace and for moms. So because I was the mom who went from repeating the pattern to seeing that that pattern doesn't work, and then trying to get it right with my kids, and getting it so right with my kids that I did not give myself permission to be that way, and then learning to give myself permission also. So if you're looking at your kid and you're saying, oh, this kid needs rest because it's been a long day, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say that it's been a long day, you need rest.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. And that would just change the whole world. If women could get this concept and what you're trying to help them with, it would absolutely just change the world. All these people taking care of themselves before they go out into the world, before they
Yeah.
make decisions and policies and whatever. This is
It,
important
it
work that
really would. And we think that by doing, constantly doing, being more productive, we're getting more done. And if you see, I mean, I was in the corporate world, I've seen it. That's how our corporate world works. We have goals and it's filled up like a stack, the stack is full, and you're trying to get everything done. But you actually end up not getting as much done because after a point, either you feel like you can't breathe, you feel like you are not able to keep up with as much, and uh, and then it just becomes this whole bag full that you kind of like that backpack full that our kids are carrying to school. You're constantly carrying on your shoulders, and you are never giving yourself permission to put that in a corner and rest. Because guess what? When you put that backpack in the corner and you remove a few things that you don't really need today from it, you actually take the time to do that and actually sit down and rest in between. Isn't that doesn't that backpack feel lighter? Isn't it easier to carry? But we don't understand. That's exactly what we're doing in life. We are just adding stuff to the backpack. We are never actually removing stuff. We are never actually saying, okay, what do I need today versus what I needed yesterday?
hmm
It's the same thing in our lives. You don't have to do it all time. You
yeah.
actually can give yourself permission for your days to look different.
Oh, I love this. I love how you help moms have give themselves, and you give them permission first of all to kind of mother themselves and let go of this guilt and have more fun and just go into the flow of life and feel an ease. So
Yeah.
anybody who wants to work with beautiful Yukti Rao can go to her website yukti.net, and you can also find her in her Facebook group, Nurtured Moms Fulfilled Hearts Peaceful Homes, which
Yeah.
I know you have. Beautiful. So go hang out with her there. I'm there, so I'll see you. We'd love to have you come in and see her beautiful post. She's always reminding us to take a moment for ourselves. Yukti, I have one last question for you. I know you have two gorgeous children. What do you do with them to help them have the same respect and value of taking time for fun, taking time for themselves, and letting go of what they don't need?
It's very interesting you say that. My kids are so well trained now. In well trained, I shouldn't say trained, but they're so in touch with that part of them now after living with me that they ask for that time themselves. But I can see a marked difference. First, I think the first thing I do is I model it for them, right? That's the most important thing because it doesn't matter what I say, what words come out of my mouth, depending on what I do, that's what they do. So I model it for them. My daughter was the kind who would go, 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 go. She's the older one. And she was always like under pressure. And she still tends to put a lot of pressure on herself, but now she works differently. She builds in time and she's much more organized than me. So she's good at doing this, which I'm still learning to do, but she builds in time in a day to do something that's fun for her. The other
Wow,
thing is
she's
she
got it
loves playing
already.
soccer. So she so she is focused on doing something that she loves doing in the first place. So
Mm,
one thing is building the time to actually do it for herself, and the other thing is actually doing something, choosing a hobby, to pursue something that she actually loves doing versus just continuing doing something that her parents want her to do.
perfect. Perfect. I think you're so right that modeling it is always the first key, and they see you doing it. And I'm sure they also love that mom doesn't get angry and yell and bang the pans and stuff
They
because
know the
she's,
difference. The minute
yeah.
I started getting irritated and frustrated, like, Mom, I think you need to take a break. I think you need to take a break. My son is so different from my daughter, though. My son has always been the kind for whom having fun has been a priority. And I really have to step back from him a little bit more, like to allow him that space to, like, okay, it's okay for him to have fun. It's not so. In his case, it's almost like he is teaching me. So that's the other aspect of being with your kids is we can actually learn
Mm.
how to play and have fun from them. And I'm really learning that from my kids
Oh,
as to how to have fun, how to let go, even though sometimes I do things they call weird, but hey, they're teenagers, so that I totally expect.
oh, that's such a great last point for us today because I think at another point in time, if you hadn't done all this work, then your fun loving child probably would have annoyed the heck out of you because he's probably out there having fun and not getting stuff done. Because that's
Oh,
my
he's
husband. He has a ball. I'm like, dude, come on. But he's here to remind me to have fun and enjoy life. So thank you, Yukti. It was a pleasure to talk to you
Thanks, Beth.
today.
It was so much fun talking to you. Loved having this chat.
Oh, me too. So go find Yukti, yukti.net, and we will see you again soon. Bye.